Yes, exactly. And down here, I mean, last night me and my husband were driving home, and it was just amazing. I have never seen that many state troopers and cops all over the expressway, all over the roads. It was just like, wow, what's going on? Is there anything special going on here?
They've tripled the number of police in the last 15 years, and they've basically federalized them. And we're in a lot of trouble. And I see reports every few days where they'll lay off half or more of sheriff's deputies or police, and then they're in the news saying, and the officers we've got are for revenue generation. We're not going to respond to most crime. You better buy a gun, which is actually an honest statement. I mean, this country is going into a full collapse by design, and the feds are going to try to use the collapse for a total takeover. I appreciate your call. Let's talk to Anonymous, who is U.S. military. Now, again, I'm only taking calls till we go to break and until Peter Schiff comes on in about 25 minutes, specifically for military or police. They're not going to march in and say, we're getting ready for martial law. It's like, this is a security situation in the Gulf. We are preparing for mass evacuations. If the main oil comes ashore, most of it's offshore, 99%. They estimate of the 150 plus, and that number's 2 weeks old. God knows what it is. It's hundreds of millions of gallons. It's off-gassing, benzene, other toxic chemicals, methane gas. You know, if this comes ashore, we may have a crisis. So we're gearing up for that. So, prepare to have a lockdown situation. What is your intel on this? Let's talk to Anonymous, U.S. military. Give us your take.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to first say I'm at a little risk talking to you here, but first I just want to ask you something about have you heard of the society called the Oath Keepers?
Yes, of course we've heard about Oath Keepers. Yes, sir.
And do you believe that's a good organization and like constitutional soldiers willing to separate from tyrannical
Yes, sir.
commanders?
We were the first major radio show to interview Oath Keepers. I've made a mini documentary about it. Stuart Rhodes. And their code of conduct is just simply the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, what you've sworn an oath to. So I think it's a good organization.
Okay. Well, I'm currently trying to get into a membership with them.
Well, listen, most people aren't members. It's just a code for people to go look at. And so, again, that's a separate issue. But you're in the military. Do you have any information about martial law in the Gulf?
Not in the Gulf necessarily, but as I'm speaking, I know someone who is training right now, a friend of mine who's also in the military. And I have this website that you can go to, and they're openly training with police, and they have pictures and videos of firemen and police and National Guardsmen training together. Can you write it down? Are you ready?
Yes, sir. I mean, I've been to literally dozens of these events. I'm fully aware of that. But go ahead and give it to us.
Okay, it's mutc.in.ng.
Say that a little bit slower.
Okay, mutc.in.ng.mil.
Well, the best thing for you to do, sir, is give me the headline on the first article. That's the best way to search, is not long URLs.
Okay. U.S. Army North announces field training exercise, Vibrant Response 10.2.
Oh, absolutely, I'm aware of that. Yes, that's Brigade Homeland, that they want to get up to 400,000 troop strength by 2011. It's reportedly over 100,000 domestic operatives right now, and that's just the public intel. We are the enemy. The American people are the enemy, so we're never given the full picture, neither are the troops. But they say it's over 100,000 right now. Yes, sir, I am aware. And there's photos on those sites of citizens with their hands behind their heads with troops aiming M16s at them.
Yes.
Yes, sir, I am aware of that. So what does your associate who's training in this tell you it's for?
Well, he's in a command position. I'm not going to reveal his name or rank.
Yeah, don't do that. Just give us the info.
Well, they're training it in a sense to just be able to disabilize gun owners and people who are declared unlawful and are really not, in a sense.
Yeah, and by disable or neutralize, that means line you up against a wall and shoot you.
Yeah.
By the way, I have this on video. They wouldn't let me into a certain Marine Corps training drill in Urban Warrior. They kept keeping me away, but we were able to slip someone in as a, quote, tourist, because they were allowing citizens to have tours. And the Marines were practicing putting citizens on their knees and shooting them in the back of the head. And that's in Police State 2000. They said, hey, now you're going to get to see an execution. And the Marine says, don't tape this. And they practiced taking the people out of their apartment, setting them down on their knees, and shooting them right in the back of the head. And so your friend says that he's part of this training.
As we speak right now, he's in Indiana training.
Oh, Indiana is the main epicenter. I tell you, we get so many intel hits on that are confirmed. It is bad news because they think Illinois is going to flee. And the CFR said this too, and they like to brag about what they're planning. They said Chicago's the next big main nuke target. So I don't know if the bankers want to nuke themselves, even with a small nuke in New York. But Chicago, let me tell you, that's in the cards. Anything else?
I just want to say that to anyone listening that the military people who you see running these checkpoints in California, they're just following orders. They're not necessarily think what they're doing is necessarily right. And if it's training, they don't understand that. A lot of young privates don't understand the big picture of things that are going on and how this could change the way their neighbors and everybody around them.
Well, the point is that America's been overthrown by foreign banks. It wasn't the Russians, it wasn't the Chi-Coms, though the globalists used China to deindustrialize us. They're part of the globalist team. We've been overthrown, and now they're about to come take everything and shut our industry completely off to break us, to make us slaves. I mean, that's their own statements. The end of the industrialized society. We're going into bondage. Just like Israel, every time they became evil, God sent them into bondage, foreign captivity. And this is what happens to every country. Rome became decadent and fell. Heaven help us. I appreciate your call. I remember talking to the Marine Corps commander. In fact, his name's in this CHIPS press release. But it says the base and office of the California Highway Patrol, CHIP, in conjunction with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the USMC Military Police, will conduct a joint sobriety driver's checkpoint on Friday, December 12th, 2008. This is just one of them, and it was just dozens of these. And I called and talked to the commander, the guy that was over this, and he knew exactly who I was. He was real arrogant. And he's like, we're stopping drunks. What's your problem with that? And I was like, well, why don't you just, I should have recorded it, but I said, well, why don't you just come on and tell us how this is good? I don't have time for this. I'm not coming on your show, and I know who you are. You need to be pro-military. We're working hard. And the Redcoats in 1775 acted the same way. When the British citizens were saying, we're colonists, but we have the same rights. You're taking our freedoms. You're pushing us around. You're confiscating our guns. Shut up, you traitor. I'm just doing my job. All right, do we have any other military people that want to comment on this? 800-259-9231. What, John? I'm leaving the phones wide open. 1-800-259-9231. Are we men or are we mice? I mean, are we so afraid as military people? See, that's why they kind of admit the NSA is listening to everything now that we're being tracked. And they let the troops know everything you do, talking to your family, is being recorded. And then that gets NSA people used to just listening to people without warrants. The same way they bathe the military in tyranny and the police in tyranny, they bathe us. They wash our minds. That's what brainwashing is. They wash out what was there, your old morals, and they give you new ones. But they can't stop us all. I mean, okay, can I have military that was involved in the gun confiscations in New Orleans 5 years ago? Can you call and say that was wrong? No, they're afraid to do that. I've talked to them on the street. All the time I'll go see a movie once a month, or we get at the grocery store, and somebody will come over in uniform or come over, who's got military tattoos, high and tight haircut, and they'll say, one time I had a colonel in a barbecue place. It happens all the time. Go, listen, we all know you're telling the truth, and we understand what's happening, and we're really concerned, but we can't talk. Everything's being surveilled. I mean, they know that this isn't Kansas anymore. Go rent the movie that's based on a true story, The Lives of Others, about the Stasi spying on East Germans. We're under many times that. This isn't freedom. And it has nothing to do with stopping al-Qaeda bugaboos. Okay? Oh, man. I just wish this wasn't happening. And it is all over the news the last week that they are transferring state, federal, corporate pension funds to, quote, failed banks. They have already taken your pension funds. okay, and you're just not getting the word yet. They are going to take all or part of everyone's pension funds, and they're going to devalue the dollar, and they're going to increase inflation. They want to bankrupt you. This is a military scientific